Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
If you're gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Why, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 242 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, and every week for making my podcast one of your choices. I really do appreciate you making me one of them and lending me your ears today. If you are enjoying this podcast, then I would love for you to take a screenshot and share it on your socials and tag me, because it'd be super cool to be able to get to know you and what you've been up to this week, like you get to tune in here each week with me. Of course, don't forget you can find the show notes for this podcast at all the W's, socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/242. Did you have a listen to last week's episode? Last week, I had the three lovely ladies from the Time Fix on the podcast, and we all chatted about our relationship with time. So if you'd like to hear some tips on improving your time and improving your relationship with time, then head back after you finish here, of course, and listen to episode 241, all about time, by the Time Fix ladies. This week on the podcast, we are talking about using your social media to either impress or to impact people. And we'll be talking about how you should be using your social media, or really all marketing for that matter of fact. But before I get started, just a shout out to this week's podcast sponsor, Joe McKenzie from Call on Joe, the digital partner that you've been looking for. Joe works with small businesses to reduce the tech overwhelm. She'll build a website, keep it updated, and do all the troubleshooting for you. Joe also does email marketing and social media and so much more. So if you need some tech help, call on Joe. Get in touch via her website at callonjoe.com.au, or check her out on Facebook or, of course, LinkedIn. The links for all of Joe's Facebook and, of course, her social media and her website are in the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/242. Like I said before, today we are going to be chatting about whether you are using your social media to impress people or to impact people. We are, for the purposes of this podcast, talking about your business profiles, your business use of social media, not your personal, because it's a business podcast. So when I'm talking about using your social media to impress people or to impact people, I am, of course, talking from a business point of view. Depending on your business model, both ways can work for you and can work to build a sustainable and profitable business. So, I guess before we jump into whether or not you should be using your social media to impress people or to impact people, we need to think about your business model. But the reality is, it's probably not either or, but it's probably both. You need to be using your social media to impress people and using your social media to impact people. When you think about using social media to impress people, you might, like me, think back to your high school days and thinking about how, you or others used to impress people back then. But that's not actually the impress people, in inverted commas, I'm talking about here. It's not about impressing people on your looks or your fancy clothes or your absolute professionalism, unless, of course, that is your branding, and then that's 100% fine. It's about impressing people with your knowledge and how well you know them, your audience, how well you know their problems and their pain points and their delight points. And then on the other side of impressing people, it's how you should be impressing people with feedback from past customers or clients, showcasing your problem solving skills, showcasing what you've done to help make other people's lives simple or fun or easy, whatever it is that you do for somebody else. So, when I talk about using social media to impress people, it's not about popularity, but perhaps more about thinking strategically about your how you use social media and your social media strategies, such as your engagement strategy or your brand awareness strategy, to impress your audience, your people, or of course, your prospects in the future, the people who one day might do business with you and hand over their hard earned cash with you. Oh, not handing over their cash with you, handing over their cash to you. Um, But if all you are using social media for is to impress people, then it's time you thought about using it to also impact people, impact your audience, impact your prospects, impact those people who will do business with you one day. Most of us, if not all of us, want to actually impact the people we work with or the people we sell to. We want to impact the way they see their castles, their homes, by selling them beautiful homewares, or maybe even selling them beautiful homes that help them have the home that they want, with the lifestyle that they want. Or we want to impact them to build sustainable and profitable businesses. Or we want to impact them by bringing them joy, by coaching them through their lives. How you want to impact your customer, your client, your prospect depends on your business model. But the idea is that most of us do want to impact the people that we are working with in a very positive way. But when you look at your social media or your marketing in general, really, how are you impacting your clients and your customers, your potential clients, your potential customers? What part of your marketing strategy is about impact? What part of it is about impacting the people that see your content, sorry. Of the 5 marketing strategies that I talk about, engagement strategy, lead generation strategy, sales strategy, growth strategy, brand awareness strategy, using your social media or your marketing as a whole to impact people probably falls into an engagement strategy, perhaps a lead generation strategy, and maybe even a brand awareness strategy. So when you're thinking how am I impacting my audience? It's quite often through engaging content, lead generation content, or of course, brand awareness type content. You can have an impact on a prospect or a client by sharing your knowledge. And remember, never underestimate what you know that others would like to know. You can impact them by sharing tips, tricks, busting myths that exist in your niche or in your industry by sharing your experiences and telling stories to help other people understand how you can help them or how they can be impacted. All of these things have impact. Creating and sharing lead magnets, for instance, as part of your lead generation strategy, can help solve that number one problem that your prospect has, therefore having maybe a huge impact on their business or on their life. The size of the impact, of course, depends on the quality of the lead magnet, but also the quality of the person who downloaded it and did they implement it and did they actually take action on it. I get that, but your impact is through the fact that you are sharing your expertise, you're sharing your knowledge, you're sharing tips, tricks, busting myths, sharing hacks, and that sort of thing. So I would really encourage you on this kind of short podcast episode today that's all about impact or impressing. But I would encourage you to go and have a look at your social media, perhaps in the last month or so, and think, are you using your social media to impress or to impact? Or a strategic mix of both of those things? Have a look at your past posts from a strategic point of view, and especially taking into account the palette pillars of a good strategy. Like I was saying before, there's 5 pillars that I talk to my clients about: engagement, lead generation, sales, growth, and brand awareness strategies. And just give your social media or your marketing an overview and think, am I being strategic about what I'm doing? How am I impressing my clients? How am I impacting my clients or your audience or your prospects? However, you talk about the audience or the community that you have. If you need help figuring all this out, then you know where I am. Get in touch. I'd love to help you through, looking at your strategy and how you could improve your marketing strategy to build a bigger, better, brighter, more profitable business, or maybe even just the business of your dreams. And finally, whilst we're talking about social media, can I just slip in here that we need to stop comparing ourselves to other business owners on social media, because we are all aware, basically, that A, most people only share the highlights of business and life on social media, and B, we aren't where they are right now. It's great to aspire to be like someone, to want to have a business like someone that you follow on social media. But if you're comparing your 12-month business journey with their 15-year business journey, it's not a fair comparison and you're not being fair to yourself. And if you find in social media that you are really comparing yourself to someone on social media, whether they be in the same industry or a different industry, and that's impacting your mental health, then unfollow them. It's okay to unfollow someone if it's impacting you and it's not bringing you joy. But use social media to share your knowledge, your resources, your stories, and have an impact on your audience and impress the hell out of them with what you can do for them, how you can make their lives or their business lives simpler, easier, more profitable, or even just a more delightful thing to have, a business that brings them joy. Get in touch and let me know your thoughts around how you're using social media and your thoughts around using it to impress or to impact. You know, I believe the right strategy is somewhere in between. I think you should be doing both. You should be using your social media to impress people and you should be using your social media to impact people. Of course, remembering impress is not high school, look at me, impress, but impress them with what you can actually do for them. If you've got questions or you've got thoughts, and I would love you to pop into my Facebook group, Like Minded Business Owners, and share them over there with everyone, or tag me, of course, if you've got a question. If you loved this episode and found it valuable, I would love for you to take 30 seconds out of your day and leave me a rating and review. If that's possible, where you are listening to this podcast. One of the goals for 2023 of mine is to reach more people with this podcast, and you can help me achieve that by leaving a review. So thank you so much in advance if you've got some time to do that. Otherwise, I'll see you next week for episode 243. Thanks again to Call on Joe for sponsoring this podcast episode. Don't forget, if you need tech help, call on Joe. Get in touch with her via her website at all the W's, callonjoe.com.au. Of course, the links are in the show notes. But in the meantime, if we aren't already hanging out on social, let's get social on social. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or of course, LinkedIn. But remember, whatever you do, my small business peep, as my opening song says, there's no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.